I kept hearing about him, and this was after I started getting closer to Andy, funny enough, and he was getting past his alcohol stuff. I was helping him through that, and we went down to Mitch's. That's the first time I really got to talk to him, really got to meet him. He was always the sweetest, funniest guy. And one of the reasons I really, really take the time now whenever I can to watch sunrises is because one thing I remembered he would always do the nights that we were up all night, at the hobo hut, didn't matter where he was actually. Daylight would come, the second that sun would start cresting and coming up, no matter what he was doing, no matter what he was talking about, he would stop whatever he was doing and turn towards the sun to watch the sunrise. Thankful to see it rise for another day.
Wow. Sounds like an amazing man.
Every single morning he took the time to stop and appreciate it.
Tony enjoyed his
He
sunrises
never
too.
he never turned away anybody. Did you ever hear about the Dalton gang
No.
that would hit the tracks and rob people?
Mm-mm. Nope.
They never harmed anybody, besides maybe popping a couple with the butts of their rifles. But as far as I know, they never harmed anybody unless, they drew first and started something. But they were not necessarily the greatest. They would rob. um, but even they respected Mitch. And Mitch, even knowing, what they did, he treated them like everybody else when they came around his hobo hut. Just treated them like they were human beings. With respect, kindness, everything. They never once tried to rob him. They respected his neutral ground around his hobo hut just like anybody else.
Really? That's awesome.
Hmm.
Sounds like a great old guy.
Yeah, somebody's great when a group of, you know, robbers and stuff like that will even respect them. That's for sure.
So what happened to him?
This is the sad thing. Uh, how I was just talking about his, place as neutral ground. Even if you had a problem with somebody, nothing happened inside or in the immediate vicinity around his hobo hut. It was pretty much, it was neutral ground. Nobody ever tossed stuff on it, all out of respect for Mitch. And then the UN came in, because a guy named Bear was hanging around, and the UN was looking for him. They wanted to detain him, question him, and send him back to Russia. And the UN guys did. And apparently he took shelter at the hobo hut, and because he was actually good friends with Mitch. I mean, Mitch respected him like everybody else. But they came in, they wanted to detain him, this and that. He even, sadly, Bear even threatened to, pull a grenade in. He'd rather, do that than be taken away. Um, Mitch was awake during it all. I mean, he was right there. He was witnessing it. He was witnessing the hostility of the UN. And uh, Bear eventually, he was just gonna, leave. He was like, "You're not detaining me. You're not taking me anywhere. Nope." they did manage to actually, apparently handcuff him just outside of the hut, but he kept walking, he wouldn't stop moving, walked around the hut and just to the backside, but he was still, cons- like, still can be considered out of respect for Mitch, kind of on that mutual ground area. He walked completely around the hut to the backside, and the UN beat the dude to death
Say
right
what?
there outside of the hut. And that was a line that nobody ever crossed. Nobody ever crossed that line around Mitch. UN doing that, it completely broke Mitch. When the UN did that, it was that dynamite that it could never be the same around there. It was no longer somebody had broken that mutual ground. It destroyed him. It completely broke him. And he eventually ended up taking his own life because of it.
That's so sad. What happened to the UN?
Oh, ever hear about the Glenistra massacre?
Bits and pieces, but I never heard the full story.
Apparently everybody and their neighbor that pretty much knew Mitch, members of the bloodline, members of all kinds of groups, they were all hunting for the UN after that. And one day they got news that they were hanging around at Lannistra. Several groups kind of came in. One main group approached the UN, started talking to them, this and that. And they really fucked up.